With the draft just 22 days away, we go over the top defensive prospects in this year's draft class.
Plus, a bombshell report on Jalen Hurts came out, trying to create even more chaos in Philly. We'll dive into this story and more on Birds Coast to Coast.
You're listening to Birds Coast to Coast. Here's your host, John Clark and Tanner Riddle.
Could you sense my enthusiasm in the intro there, Tanner? I really,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, thanks for joining us, guys. But, here we are again. As you can sense in my voice, I'm not loving exactly the news I woke up to this morning. But again, welcome. And we were going to talk about the defensive draft class. We are. It's going to happen. But we just had to wake up to a wonderful report on ESPN about Jalen Hurts. So I feel like this is something, and Tanner, as you've been adopted into the Eagles brotherhood, you've kind of learned that the off season is never really an off season. It's just
There is no off season.
there is no off season when it comes to the Eagles. It's just continual report after report after report, and that's okay. That's okay. We're just gonna keep rolling and talk about what happened. So, for those who don't know, there was a report today that discussed Jalen Hurts, and it was a long, lengthy ESPN article by, I believe, was it Tim McManus or was it Jeremy Fowler? I don't know. Do you remember who it was? One of those guys?
It was
McManus.
Jeremy Fowler, I believe.
Okay, cool. Well, he released a report, a long one, basically talking about how Jalen Hurts has had his shortcomings these past few years with coachability, allegedly. And there's been a lot of consternation on whether his rigidity on wanting to change the offense has become a boiling point amongst the Eagles locker room and the coaches and some of the staff. And today we learned through anonymous sources that the Super Bowl has made some of the characteristics that some people would call stubbornness or uncoachability or not being flexible. Apparently the character traits have been grown and made worse from the Super Bowl. And gosh, it's just hard to hear, as an Eagles. I'm just going to be honest. Like I listen to WIP every day, and this isn't something that is new to me. Like I have heard like leak after leak after leak over years that some players don't like Jalen, and some players think he's not, likable, or some players thinks he's closed off and too private. Blah 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 blah. Like, I'm just tired of it, dude. Like, honestly, it's almost like the AJ Brown thing. Like, the dude's won 70% of his games. Like, that's not a joke. Like, it's actually 70%. All right. The guy's playoff touchdown to interception ratio is like top 3 in NFL history. Like, and I'm just being conservative on this. I think it is number 1, but I don't want to say it's number 1 and it not be. It's really good. And there's some quotes here, and I'll go ahead and give it some credence, and I just want people to hear what Jeremy Fowler had to say. Quote: Hurts' rigid performance or preferences became an issue again this past season, multiple sources said, citing Patullo's desire to get Hurts under center more often for rushing efficiency and play action purposes. Playing from under center is something Hurts, quote, continually fights inside the building, one source said. Hurts doesn't like to, quote, turn his back to the defense and prefers to process coverages in front of him and everything have in front of him. Cool. God forbid a quarterback have preferences. Next, a source close to the quarterback stresses that Hurts understands motions and shifts help the quarterback and doesn't dissuade coaches from using them. Oh, that seems to run antithetical of what exactly was just said. Surprisingly, how in the same article we have an exact opposite opinion. Let's see. Hurts and Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator in the Super Bowl winning team, said that they seem to find a compromise, successfully implementing 279 plays with motion during the 2024 season, 11th most in the league. When Kellen Moore left, that dropped down to 28th in the league. Wonder what the difference was. Definitely not Jalen. Kellen Moore. Again, it's the offensive coordinator's fault. But apparently, Hurts is not receptive to the idea of motions. And he says that they were willing to implement the motions and the wide receiver motions and all those fun shifts and pre-snap shifts and adjustments. But apparently, once they became not paying off immediately, he was quick to pivot to express his discomfort in utilizing those ideas. So that became a thing as well. So that's pretty much it. Just talking about how the quarterback had preferences and didn't like the way the offense was being pushed onto him. Listen, I don't play football. I never played football. But I understand how in a working system, one person might feel one way and another person might feel another way. And oh my gosh, you have to have compromises. Wow. You're telling me not everyone in the locker room is all hunky dory with everything that's going on? Breaking news, guys! Congrats! Way to waste 20 minutes. Dude, I just kept scrolling and it was like, yeah, uh-huh. Yep. If you remember, the Eagles were really big on running the ball in 2024. Yeah, dude, I remember. I wasted 20 minutes of my life on that article. I'm just so tired of this Hurts slander. And look, hand up, do I get frustrated with some of his play? Yeah, I watched him turn the ball over twice in one play, basically cost us a game against the Chargers. He's not perfect. He has issues. Every quarterback has issues. Did you watch Josh Allen in the playoffs? He wasn't playing perfect football. Did you watch Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs? No, his team didn't even get to the playoffs. So, like, I'm sorry. This whole idea that Hurts is like, like some terrible teammate now or something. And he's just like, I'm sorry. Quarterbacks have preferences. It's okay. It's their job to meet in the middle and figure out what works best. Kellen Moore figured it out. Shane Steichen figured it out. They got head coaching jobs. The other two are one and dones. So I'm frustrated. This is getting tiring. It's going to be another week of them chewing on it on the radio station and basically just recycling the same crap that we've already heard for 3 weeks. For actually 3 months or 3 years, basically, because it's been the same topics of conversation with Jalen Hurts for what seems like forever. And I'm tired of it. I don't know who the rat is who keeps leaking this stuff out, but it's getting really frustrating and I'm very sick of hearing it. And I don't really think I'm too worried about this. I know I talked to you about like pre-show, like, is this like, something I want to be worried about, not worried about, or monitoring? I'm not worried about it. I'm really not. I mean, the dude in the article, he says he has like a psycho-like work ethic, and they compare him to like Kobe Bryant. Like, give me the guy who has that work ethic and is like a little bristly with his teammates over the guy who doesn't take it seriously. Like, I'm sorry. Like, give me the guy who does take it seriously 100 out of 100 times. What do you feel? You think you could be like too locked in, and at the sake of like rubbing your teammates the wrong way? What do you think?
No. Do you remember when the Broncos, they traded for Russell Wilson, and they traded a whole lot of stuff for him, like multiple first round picks, etc. And there were other players who felt like Russ got favorable treatment. Apparently,
Mm-hmm.
he even got his own like office.
Office, yeah.
Did that ever rub you wrong?
It was a little
And
weird. That
it
wasn't like,
didn't. I mean, is it common? I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. But I don't really see how that's like. Don't don't you want your quarterback to be like that focused, that uh, just single minded, like taking it serious? And I know it's maybe not an apples to apples comparison, but I don't know, man. Like the stoicism thing, it doesn't bother me. Um, I mean, it is a little weird when you just win a Super Bowl and you look like you just came out of the second drive of a preseason game, and
mm-hmm.
I mean, you almost seem like you are emotionless. It's definitely different. I don't know if it's better or worse. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, what was your question? Would you rather sacrifice some like focus so you aren't as bristly with your
Yeah.
teammates? I mean, what does that mean though? Like a teammate's rubbed the wrong way, like because I don't know, like what's bristly? I guess that's what I don't understand.
I don't get it either, and that's what these reports always seem to like lend
Like,
themselves
is
to.
he
I
calling his
don't get it.
teammates names? Like what does it mean to be bristly in this specific case? Is he a
I don't know.
distraction? I don't think so. Like, what does it really mean? Are people offended because he takes his job serious, or his approach of I'm going to be stoic, I'm just going to, have the same emotion no matter the circumstance? I don't know. I feel like that's actually a reflection on his teammates more so than Jalen.
Is he like upset about the treatment that he gets? Like, because I think that was also kind of mentioned. Like, is he up there? Are
Like the
people
Philly
upset?
sports media treatment.
No, like people in the building like think or like are very like defensive of him and like take his side on things or something like that, or like acquiesce to his like demands.
So teammates are offended by the treatment Jalen gets within
Preferential
the
treatment.
organization, always trying to defend him at all cost.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what the article was lending at is that teammates were very upset, or some, I'm gonna say teammates, with some were very, I guess, annoyed by, I guess, the
Like maybe some like wide receiver tends to get more criticism without the defense from the organization, unlike Jalen Hurts because he's the
yes, it's
quarterback.
almost like, well, if Jalen threw, and it's like, no, 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 Jalen didn't do anything wrong, type of thing. I
Bad
think
play
it's
call, someone ran a bad
yeah.
route.
hmm
It wasn't a bad throw or
Well, you know what?
inconsistencies.
Even if that is the case, again, I think that happens everywhere. Like I
Honestly,
don't.
do we know how this works? Like, I don't know. I struggle with guys just not understanding. Hey, these are our roles here. You know, it's just better PR if we defend our quarterback. Maybe a little bit more than we would. Wide receiver too. I'm not saying it's Devontae Smith. I'm just saying like for the long term, like this guy's under contract for
Yeah,
longer, for more money. It is more important that we keep him in a good headspace as opposed to a guy who's making a third of what he's making. Like, I don't know. I get it. There was a quote from one of the Washington Husky running backs in this year's draft class asking about like the role of like a running back compared to quarterbacks, and he was pretty blunt. It was very good self evaluation, I guess. He was like, look, running backs get paid $2 million, quarterbacks get paid 50. I know where we are in the totem pole, and I'm just like, okay. And I guess my point is, teammates of the quarterback should kind of understand where the quarterback is like the CEO of the roster, kind of in a way. You know what I mean? So we kind of need to like not baby him, but we got to protect that role to a certain extent.
I mean they're called field generals for a reason. Like
Right? They touch the ball
lead,
every play.
they lead. They're pretty important. And,
Like they can mess up a play because they touched the ball. Doesn't matter how well it's blocked. If you just completely overthrow a guy, doesn't matter how well it's blocked, how well the routes run. It doesn't matter.
and
So
I don't even disagree with everything in this article. There are some things in this article that I do agree with. Does Jalen need to be more flexible when the offensive coordinator brings new ideas into the system and he has to actually try things he hasn't done before? Yeah, I do. I don't like what the offense was last year. I don't like it. But like the personal attacks and like the like the character trait assumptions and the idea of like they were saying he had poor body language for most of the year. Like I didn't
this
I
guy's called stoic. What part of that's bad body? Isn't that the opposite? Isn't
yeah,
stoic good body language?
I don't understand. Like I think whoever leaked this had an axe to grind, to be honest. And I think a year after a Super Bowl win and you're just that like upset about your quarterback being like, I guess, a little I guess unfriendly, like not even like jerkish, just like kind of cold shouldery. Like that's kind of how you're gonna treat it. And I'm telling you, whoever this guy is on the Eagles that's giving all this information, he needs to go. Like I'm really hoping it's not someone like super high up, but I have some ideas. I wouldn't be shocked if it was Kevin Patullo. Let's be honest. I mean, Kevin Patullo was just made a scapegoat. And basically like everyone considered him to be the reason. And I do consider him the reason. So he's not like a legit scapegoat in the fact that he didn't deserve his ridicule. He absolutely does. But would it be shocking if on the way out he told Jeremy Fowler, say, hey, look, this guy was a jerk to me. Yeah, like he would not listen to me. Every time
You
I
know,
tried something,
actually,
he didn't want to do it.
I'm trying to put some pieces together. Like Jeremy Fowler, I believe, is he not a Florida guy, or no? Am I thinking of someone else?
I can't
You
think
know,
of.
I
I don't
think
know.
Jeff Darlington's the Miami guy. Because I was gonna say, didn't Patullo actually go to the
He
Dolphins?
did. He did.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I do think there's a chance it's Patullo, but it could be anybody in the organization. The Eagles have this weird history where these leaks just seem to come out. And listen, I don't follow all the other teams extensively, but I really just feel like we get leaks every year. Even on good years, we get leaks, man. I'm sick of it. Someone needs to patch
Why
up.
didn't
Fix me
actually? Why didn't what is it? The Eagles Insider of the Year, Diana Rossini. Why didn't she break this?
It's just too close to the AJ situation, man. You know, personally, I think that's like they're just the AJ story ran cold because I don't think he's going to get traded for a couple more weeks at least, and they're just like, all right, we got to do something. We got to switch over to somebody. We can't milk this AJ thing much longer. We're gonna just go back to the Jalen's a bad teammate arc that we've been digging up for a couple years. So we're gonna go back to that, and then we'll pretend like none of us knew any of this and make it a big deal. Because right now I'm seeing all the national heads like, this is a crazy report. This is wild. This is crazy. And I'm like, dude, I knew all this. Like people have been saying this
It's
about
just another
Jalen for a while.
Wednesday.
It's wild. Is it?
I feel like there's two ways to take this. There's the you can give it some like credence and actually discuss some of the things that were like part of it, not wanting to be under center as much, not wanting to turn your back to the defense. I mean, to be fair, that's something we've been talking about for 7 years here in Arizona. Kyler, I mean, he's just naturally comfortable, out of shotgun. I think he's got a better view of everything. A lot of wasn't always the best fit with our last 3 years in our scheme because it required a lot of bootlegs and stuff. Well, that would require you to turn your back to the defense, and I think there's a trust factor with that because what you don't want to do is the second you turn your head around, there's this huge defensive player right there ready to clobber you. So, I mean, look, I think some of that's valid. Let's just assume and give credit like this is all true stuff about Jalen. I mean, yeah, there's only so much you can do out of the run game from the shotgun. You either hand it off or you don't. At least under center. There's all kinds of run left, run right. Then there's the play action you can build off it. There's a lot more options in the run game under center than there is out of shotgun. So I understand the desire to want to try to mix in, some under center stuff. But at the end of the day, when you were 13, 14 months removed from a Super Bowl,
Yeah.
I mean, was the personnel really that much different? Yeah, like you lost a guard. I mean,
Yeah, that's it.
but like, other than Mekhi Becton, you probably brought everyone else back. The whole story with the offensive line coach and Jeff Stoutland. By week 6 or 7, we had some title changes, and I don't know. It just feels like we're just constantly looking for an explanation why this team didn't win back-to-back Super Bowls. And I think there's a reason why it doesn't happen that often. Yes, I understand the Chiefs just did it 2 years ago, but like before the Chiefs, it was 2 decades, and
Yeah.
before them, it was another decade. Like I understand the expectations were high. It was a very good team. Even though they didn't win the Super Bowl, they still even came up short. You would have thought at least a NFC title game appearance would have been the bar. But it feels like we're really stretching on we gotta put this blame on someone why we didn't win the Super Bowl. And I think next week there'll be a Sirianni story of how much of a doofus he is, and it's just like I don't know. It's just constantly like chasing your tail.
Yeah, it does feel like constantly chasing our tail, and we already know what their answer is. It was the offensive line, the poor play. Like the everything starts with the offensive line. It was bad running game, and then that just trickles down to every other facet of the offense, and that's why we sucked. I mean, I've watched so many blown up blocks, blown up plays in the backfield, and that just sets your team behind the chains and makes everything more hard. So there's no reason to even like discuss beyond that. But that's not a sexy radio conversation. That's not a sexy, piece on ESPN at 4:30 on NFL Live. It's not. It's not. It doesn't really drive headline. The offensive line just needs to play better. That's a boring conversation. It really is. Whereas you can say Jalen needs to figure this out. Like that'll get clicks. And at the end of the day, it's a boring fix. We gotta be healthier. Cam Jurgens, he has to feel his legs again because apparently the tush push is just making him a husk. And he's not able to like live anymore. But look, if he gets back to being himself and Landon Dickerson gets back to being himself, I think everything will be fine. But no, that doesn't drive. And let's be honest, this report dropped a day after Jeffrey Lurie in the league meeting, basically going, and he only speaks once a year. Jeffrey Lurie almost never talks, the Eagles owner. And he talks once a year, and he was praising Jalen Hurts, praising. He was like, this guy's a winner. He was a Super Bowl MVP 13 months ago. I couldn't have anyone represent this organization better than him. I am so proud of him for all he has accomplished. Lots of accolades, accolade, praise. And then after that, bang. So all I know is that the owner really supports Jalen Hurts. Nick Sirianni supports Jalen Hurts. And Howie Roseman really supports Jalen Hurts. After that, I don't care. I really don't care. Because if either of those three didn't like him, then there'd be changes. And it ain't happening. So that's where I'm at.
This is when I know they're really stretching. There was conversations. I think Jeffrey Lurie was asked about an extension for Jalen Hurts. He's got this guy under contract for 3 more years. It's we're really stretching to find some divisiveness here.
I know. That's what it's like every
He's
day.
Under contract for 3 years.
Every
and they're like,
day.
what about it? What about an extension? Oh, do you not believe in him? I'm like, where we could be in 3 years? How much can change? That's crazy.
It's insane, dude. Every day is just another drama cycle, and then it's just it's fun.
I say try to just have fun with it. Just laugh.
No, yeah, no, I love it. No, I turn on the radio, I listen to the people yell about it. It's real fun. It's fun to see everyone get all worked up about it. It's entertaining business. At the end of the day, sports are fun. It's entertaining. Sports are supposed to be fun. It's whatever.
And it's also that time of the year and time within the draft season where it feels like we've kind of really squeezed out a lot of the topics. And we gotta have to really stretch and turn the dial from a 7 to a 10 on stuff. There was the discussion about Trevor Mendoza versus Ty Simpson, I think it was last week. Dan Orlovsky saying, oh, I've talked to multiple dozens of guys who've said Ty Simpson's the better prospect. He was on the Pat McAfee show, and he says, well, what big games has Fernando Mendoza been in?
I was say, who likes Trevor Mendoza?
Is that even a person? I don't know.
I don't know.
Fernando Mendoza. What big games has he been in? And I'm just like, seriously? He just
National
went through the
championship.
college.
That was Dan Orlovsky.
Yeah. Dan Orlovsky was on Pat McAfee show last week. On top of the playoffs, plus he played Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. And I'm just like, what do you mean? What big games has he been in? He literally went undefeated through the playoffs. And beat some good teams. I don't know.
Every game in the playoffs was
really stretching to Mendoza's been cemented as the top guy essentially since the regular season ended, right?
Yeah, it
feels like we need to change it up a bit, have a little bit of extra spice in there.
Yeah, we have to change it up. We have to create narratives. People have to figure out what their narrative is. It's hot take season. It's what
you can't just like Ty Simpson. You have to bring other people down, or you have to, like I said, dial it to a 12 on how much you like a guy.
Well, exactly. I mean, like I said with the offensive line thing, it's not a really clickable thing to say. Yeah, I think Ty Simpson's okay. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's not no one's gonna. Oh, okay, thanks.
He's
So,
not perfect, but he's got good traits, so that's it. Like,
anything
next.
else you want to know? Next. So actually, that kind of leads into our actual conversation because I'm done talking about Jalen. I tried to keep it as brief as possible. I think I did a decent job keeping it at under 30 minutes. But we're moving on to our defensive prospect conversations, and we wanted to start off by quickly giving a brief rundown of kind of the names that you want to kind of keep your ears on, eyes on, because when the draft goes and these players are selected, you kind of want to know exactly who these people are and kind of a little bit about their background. So that way, when they go to the team, you can be like, "Oh yeah, I heard those guys on Birds Coast to Coast." So first up, we will start with the edge rushers because those are really the top two, I guess, large blue chip prospects that are really like dominating in terms of like the top five of the big boards. And those are Ruben Bain from Miami and Arvell Reese from Ohio State. Different
I would include David Bailey in that as
David
well.
Bailey as well. I
Yeah.
keep messing up David Bailey as well. So those three all have differences in them. They're all listed under the same position, edge. But as you know, as the position has kind of morphed from 4-3 defensive end to 3-4 off ball or 3-4 edge linebacker, like outside linebacker, they've really kind of morphed into one position called edge. But you can have different body shapes, different styles, different play structures, how you approach the position, but they're all lumped into one position now called edge rusher. But like I said, they all go about different ways. Tanner, you said that Ruben Bain in the past is they're more of a power rusher, right? Like that's kind of like
Yeah,
what his.
yeah. He's like he's kind of built like Blastoise is how I would describe him.
Oh, that's awesome. See, I want my guy to like Blastoise. There we go. Arvell Reese, he's another edge from Ohio State. A little differently, he kind of caught Twitter fame the other week because they did this three-cone drill where it's supposed to mark like how much you can bend around a corner. And as an edge lineman, you want to make sure you can get around the offensive lineman and get to the quarterback. Well, he looked like he was like making like a 3-point turn in a car. Like that's kind of looked like what he.
He looked like Grandpa Reese. You're trying to
Yeah, it didn't
shuffle
look too
around.
great. And for a guy who played primarily off ball linebacker in college, and he's supposed to now transition to edge, and that was the bend we saw, and he's the third ranked prospect. It's like, oh gosh, a lot of people are starting to get a little nervous about is he kind of like worthy of that top 5 pick. So we'll get into that in a couple seconds because that does kind of link up with something about the Cardinals and their kind of draft history. So I think we want to save that for later. But that's kind of his player profile. Athleticism is off the charts for Arvell Reese. I don't want to disclaim that. Like he is a gym freak, but those are some things that were kind of noticeable in the combine and his pro day workouts. Would you agree with that, Tanner? Kind of like what Arvell's kind of deal
Yes,
is.
he's the clay you want to mold.
Yes, yes. Whereas Ruben Bain's more of just, like you said, Blastoise, pure power. Next up, we have David Bailey, the Texas Tech linebacker slash edge. So you've been kind of bringing him up, Tanner. What do you know about David Bailey as opposed to the Arvell Reese and Ruben Baines? What's his
I think
deal?
he's more of your traditional, just classic edge rusher. I mean, had good combine performance. He led the country last year in sacks with 14 and a half. Probably has the lower floor amongst the three because he doesn't have any glaring weaknesses. With Ruben Bain, he's got the short arm concern, which makes him an outlier.
Hmm.
You got Arvell Reese, who is he positional? Is he positionless or homeless from a position standpoint, or is
A
he just
tweener.
super versatile? Most of his snaps were taken as an off-ball linebacker and not an edge rusher, even though he did have, I think, 90 something snaps at edge, but clearly that wasn't his main focus last year. David Bailey just kind of like, I am what I am. It's obvious. We don't really have to question exactly what that is. So he's definitely an interesting prospect.
Yeah. And I see his player comp is Vic Beasley, and he was one of those, I guess, tweener type players too, not his body type really didn't like fit one way or the other. He couldn't really find a position. So sometimes those players, they could just be standouts in college, but they just don't fit a right mold in an NFL defense, and they just kind of get lost in the shuffle. And it's really, really a shame, but that does tend to happen sometimes. And hopefully that doesn't happen for our friend David Bailey. But The next person we got on our list, you could argue is probably the best player in the draft, bar none, and that's Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State. And when I talk about athletic freak, that's who I'm talking about. He's getting comparisons to like Eric Berry, Troy Polamalu. Like this guy absolutely has, in my opinion, what I see from others' opinions and scouting is like Hall of Fame level type player ability. Like the dude's an absolute freak. I think he ran like a four. What did he run? Did he run in his pro day? I think he ran like a 4.3.
I don't remember too much combine stuff from him.
Interesting. Okay. But no, I mean he's absolutely like a speedy
Outside
type
of there was
player.
actually I saw one thing about a medical concern with him, and it was kind of from a draft perspective a little nerve wracking.
That's right. No, I remember that.
I
It was the degenerative knee,
Yeah, he
degenerative
could have
ACL.
a Will Johnson-esque fall, and that makes me very
Yes.
nervous for him.
Yes. So Caleb Downs was diagnosed with, I think, like, or maybe like rumored to be diagnosed with some sort of like ACL degeneration where like Tanner said with Bill Johnson, the corner for the Cardinals, like that could be a prolonged concern for the player, like over time. Like it's not something that just gets fixed. It's something that might just be a long-term issue for them. Not something that keeps them out like for seasons, but could be nagging. And look, the best ability is availability. And if you're out missing 6 games or 7 games out of the year, then let's be real. What purpose do you serve if you're a top three safety in the league if you're only available for half the games? So like
I think
there's
it's an interesting conversation with that because I think everyone wants with the top 10 pick a guy who's going to play for 10 years. Um, I'm not sure that's really the best way to look at it. You're right about the degenerative thing. He could go and play his first 3 years in the pros. You notice nothing, right?
yeah.
The degenerative concern is usually closer to the end of the first contract, or maybe towards the beginning of his second contract.
Mm-hmm.
And so from a Cardinals perspective, I'm like, shoot, I would love a guy who's deserving of a second contract. You know how many times we've drafted guys and we're just like, thanks, but no thanks. We'll move along. I mean, I would love the discussion of how much should we pay this guy because he's a good player. Sometimes we don't even get to that point. So yeah, maybe I've been hurt too much by prior Cardinals drafts, but I do think there's a conversation to be had. It's like, hey, I don't count on these guys playing for 10 years anyways, so I'm not going to worry about how a guy's going to fare in the league 6-7 years from now.
Yeah. And that'll kind of lead us to our conversation later. We are going to talk about our friend Caleb Downs because he does kind of lead one of our other conversations about the value of safety and linebacker because those are positions that are unique in terms of their valuations from different teams and their, I guess, their effectiveness and importance to a defense. But we're going to make sure we hit the other two defenders in this top five list. And one of them, before we, move into those topics, but one of them is Jermod McCoy, the corner from Tennessee. And he's an interesting player because I was talking to Tanner pre-show. He missed the entire season last year due to a torn ACL. And as I mentioned, he's a top 5 defensive prospect in this draft, and he didn't play a single play last year. So there's only really been one player we can think of off the top of our head that missed the entire season and still had like elite draft capital spent on him, and it was Jamar Chase. And he didn't get hurt; he just sat out because he didn't want to play. So, so this kid was so good his previous year. He tore his ACL, and he's still considered a top 10 pick. So, and that's crazy. Makes me really wonder, like how good could he have been if he played, or maybe sometimes this happens, like you get exposed a little bit, and then you fall a little bit. How many times did people go back the next year and they're just not as good?
I
So,
always think of Matt Barkley.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's always those way too early mock drafts, and you're like, this guy, this guy, this guy, and then all of a sudden, like you show up to the real draft and you go back and look at those, you're like, that guy went in the 4th round, that guy went in the 5th round. Like, oh my god, like what happened? So
This year, Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback from LSU,
Drew Aller
he,
last year,
he
Drew
may have
Aller was
he
a
may
top
have
pick.
been a top 10 pick last year if he came out. This year, he might be a day 2 pick.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like so it changes. So who knows? Torn ACL might be a blessing in disguise, but his player comp is Quinyon Mitchell, so he's got good hip fluidity, very good ball tracker. Very sticky in coverage, can be a little handsy, like what they said with Quinyon Mitchell, but that didn't seem to be too much of an issue with Quinyon. In fact, that's one of his weaknesses. It says can be overly physical through the route, so little handsy. Might have to draw a little illegal contact here or there, but all pro talent, all pro upside. If he comes back from his ACL,
Well,
top
he ran
franchise.
a 4.37. Is that what I'm reading?
Oh yeah,
40
yeah,
yard
yeah,
dash at his pro day yesterday.
yeah. So that straight line speed's
I
there, folks.
mean, if we're saying that his ACL is still lingering, how fast is this guy?
No, so
This
I think
guy's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So I think he's probably back to 100%. Don't know if he'll be having any sort of limitations going into camp, but definitely something to watch for coming off an ACL for sure. And the last guy is another Ohio State Buckeye, and another line is a linebacker again, but this is a true off-ball linebacker. He's not converting to edge, and this guy is Sonny Styles, who was honestly like the
He did
combine.
actually convert from a safety, but he's got plenty of snaps at off-ball linebacker.
Yeah, yeah. So this kid was the combine darling, if I remember. Like he set
Yeah.
records, and what didn't he set records in like the vertical jump? I don't know. He had a lot of explosive
Yes, I think so.
records. Yeah, where like he was like jumping out of the gym and just a lot of lower body explosion coming from the combine. And he ran a what was it, like a 4.46 40. That's insane.
Well,
At the
but he's also like 6'4".
he's really tall, which is interesting because his player comp is Anthony Barr, who is also rather, if I remember, a tall, fast
Really?
linebacker. Yeah, so
The comp that I liked for him that I heard was Brian Urlacher, and I think a lot of that had to do with the whole safety to linebacker transition.
mhm.
Urlacher was also bigger too, like Sonny Styles.
Yeah, so it shows here as his strengths is he has great size, shoots the gap well to create plays in the backfield. Very long, so he can finish in space and doesn't miss many tackles. Disrupts passing lanes to the linebacker, so he gets his hands up in zone coverage. Knocks down passes. So again, that kind of lends itself to the discussion that we're going to have in a couple minutes now about how Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles being the two big, I guess, pillars of that conversation of linebackers and safeties being valued. And where do you value them? Because you could argue that those two players are like maybe the top two best player available on the defensive side of the ball, maybe, but they're in positions of maybe not so great value. So I don't know, Tanner. I feel like we had some things written down. Do we want to just start there because we just kind of like talked about those two, like, or do we can circle back? Like, what do you think about like the safeties and linebackers, and do you think a team should just take a shot on the best player available in the top 10, even though safeties and linebackers aren't highly valued as much anymore? What do you think?
So the argument why you should value positional value is essentially it's like an opportunity cost or like a competitive advantage cost. And what I mean by that is if you hit on a quarterback, you get them for 4 years plus a fifth year option, assuming you take them in the first fifth year option, and then as much as 2 franchise tags. You, if you hit on that quarterback, the surplus value in what you get out of that could be, in current terms, $40 million a year. So you're getting a $50 million player at the cost of just $10 million, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's $40 million in surplus value.
That you're saving that you could spend on other players and make your team
That's
better.
what it would cost you if you were to
Yeah.
go out on the market, which obviously they're not available.
But if you're saying for
But if I
linebackers and safeties, it's different.
but if I do that with a off-ball linebacker, a safety, or a tight end, you know, especially with like a tight. I know this is a defensive discussion, but like with the tight ends, if you take a guy in the top 15, he's already like the 8th highest paid player at his position.
Wow.
So from like a cap management standpoint, you don't really gain any surplus value because they come in so expensive relative to their position. That's where the conversation, that's where it all lies of why a running back's not valuable, a safety's not as valuable as opposed to a quarterback, an edge rusher,
So this
etc.
is completely irrespective to their impact
If
on
they're
a game.
actually good or not.
Yeah.
You are just assuming that you hit on a player. And honestly, what is the hit rate? Like 30% at best for the Cardinals like 3%. Like I wouldn't worry about positional value as much as a Cardinals fan. Looking back at our history, Monty Ossenfort's actually done a really good job of staying disciplined within that framework of, hey, we're gonna really value, important positions, taking like, at least early in the draft, taking a tackle, wide receiver, an edge rusher, defensive lineman. Like these are all very expensive positions, and so if we hit on them, there's a lot of surplus value there. The problem is they've been hurt, they've been underperforming for whatever reason, inconsistent. I do like Paris Johnson's probably the best pick so far, but what value is taking a wide receiver number 4 overall if he's just another guy?
Yeah.
When we could have taken a really good guard. Like at what point did we overthink it? And I'm not saying there was a guard specifically that I would have accepted instead of Marvin Harrison Jr., but there is a point where it's like, just give me good players so I can like establish a base, like a good baseline of like talent on the roster. Because I want to also not only get good players for them, I want to be able to evaluate everyone else too. And if everyone around you is bad, it's harder to evaluate how good the other guys are as well.
So you want to find a happy medium of cap saving opportunity cost versus just getting a good player on your team and allowing your roster to develop.
Yeah, I mean, is there like a bit of a compromise, I guess? Sure. I mean, let's not completely throw, like, I'm not taking a kicker,
Yeah.
just because he's that good. Like, there is a point where it's like, hey, like, calm it down. But sometimes you just need you need to build it. The idea of building a team is to build a team and not just to collect talent. And so there needs to be this idea of like, we got to just get better at some point.
So is that the Caleb Down, Sonny Styles argument? Just, hey, look, if they're good players, take them. You know, like I'm not in the market of trying to save money if my team is that bad.
Yeah, so if we want to do the whole Sonny Styles, his potential is Brian Urlacher, and let's say there's a 60% chance that he could be that. Well, that's awesome. I mean, Brian Urlacher is a Hall of Famer, one of the best of all time.
Let him do a Super Bowl.
But there is like this. If he's not Brian Urlacher, if he's that 40% chance, well, shoot, like there's only so much value you can get out of that position. You have to be Brian Urlacher to justify that pick. But let's say Ruben Bain has short arms, but if he were to hit his version of a Brian Urlacher, like I've heard his comp is actually Brandon Graham. I think that a lot of it has to do with like a measurable standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say there's a 60% chance he's just Brandon Graham. I say just, but I think you get what I'm saying here. Urlacher was clearly the better player, but given the position, give me Brandon Graham for 12 years. Like there's a lot of value over a 12-year span that you get out of that. And so you don't have to necessarily hit your potential as much as you would with a linebacker. Like you got to be Brian Urlacher to be worth it. From an edge perspective, maybe you only have to be Brandon Graham. So there is give and take here, in my opinion. Does that make sense?
I think so too. No, I totally see. It's all just a level of figuring out where you are on your team building, where you are at on your, I guess, timeline, and then how the players stack up in your mind. And you know what, Tanner? That's how guys like Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs fall to the late 20s. Because like no one wants to make that.
I love Sonny Styles. I of course, if you could say this about any guy in their potential, but if he could be like 80% of his potential, oh my gosh.
Like that's the whole thing where that guy goes to like the Ravens or like this or like some other good team and everyone goes, how did that happen? How did we let that happen? Like the Kyle Hamilton thing, like Kyle Hamilton going to the Ravens and like when he was considered a top 5 guy until right before, and then he said he was slow.
Yeah, at the combine he ran like a high 4.5.
But before then, he was a blue chipper, and like he was pretty highly touted. And then all of a sudden, it was like, yeah, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, the Ravens got him. Right. So yeah, now he's like an All-Pro. But So it's definitely a little bit of give and take, like you said, and that's what makes watching the draft so interesting because every team has different philosophies. Every team
Yeah.
does. So
Well,
that's
that's
why
what
I
I
like
love
watching.
about this draft. It's going to really test that because I think the best players are at those low premium
Yeah.
positions.
Oh, absolutely. Some team's gonna get a steal, two steals, or some team's gonna maybe, like what we said, take the bite and bite him, get him at the fifth pick, get him at the 10th pick. So we'll
Yeah.
see. Listen, the draft night is like some of the best reality TV show you can watch. It's great. I love the draft night, and this is why because you never know. Teams all have different mindsets, and there's what 20 odd people in each war room, all trying to figure out who to pick and when to pick, and it's great. So
Well,
I guess I
like
got
last year, even though there was a trade early on, didn't it feel like we had a good grasp of like where some of these guys were going?
every year we write
Like
down where
this
we say
year,
like who's gonna get
I-
picked.
we know Fernando Mendoza, not Trevor. Fernando Mendoza, he's going first. I have no idea who's going second. I mean, I guess I have an idea, but I don't feel good about it.
Yes,
I don't know who's
dead,
going third,
dead and
fourth,
gone are the
fifth. Like,
days where like these players would sign their contracts before the draft night, and they would remove all mystery of who anywhere would go.
what was the reasoning behind it?
I don't know. I don't understand why it was even allowed. It didn't seem make sense to me.
Like, was there like an intern that said like, "Hey, this was kind of cool," and no one questioned it?
I don't know why the NFL would want that. I guess maybe back then they didn't see the draft as much as like a media presence and like a spectacle that would get ratings. So
I
like they
don't
didn't
think it
care.
was, but they only did it for the first overall pick, though. It's not like they got to do it, as one contract signed. Then now you're eligible at pick number two. Hey, go sign your guy if you want to, and it
Is
just
there like
kept
some
going.
sort of like weird rule that like the first overall pick is like is like literally on the clock the second the season ends? Is that and so they could just do that whenever? Like is that I don't know. It was a very very weird thing. But I guess our next conversation kind of goes back to well, yeah, okay. So the Cardinals have had a long history of taking off-ball linebackers and trying to make them edge rushers to varying levels of success. Now, my question to Tanner before the show was you have these corners, and it wasn't just Jermon McCoy. There's other corners that are pretty good that are very next to him. One of them is AJ Terrell's brother, Avion Terrell, and the other one is Mansour something from
And Coeur d'Alene.
Mansour Delane from LSU. I only talked about McCoy, but all three of those dudes are very similarly rated. It was like the end of the top 10 list, so like the other two are like right behind him. My question to Tanner was would you, as a Cardinals fan sitting in the third pick, take Ruben Bain or one of those edge guys, knowing that, there's a strong chance that you have to convert one of them from linebacker to, edge. Ruben Bain, I think, was the only like true edge, I think, was Ruben Bain wasn't ever a linebacker, right?
No, he's
No,
still
okay.
on.
So imagine Ruben Bain's off the board, and you have to go with Reese or David Bailey. Those two linebackers slash edges that have had the Cardinals' history, where you guys have taken Zaven Collins and Hassan Reddick and Isaiah Simmons and tried this whole edge linebacker hybrid thing in the past. Or would you rather trade back to like the 10th or 12th pick, probably pick up a first rounder because that seems about appropriate from 3 to 10, right? I think that's a first, right?
You said what, 10 to 12?
10 like no, from 3
Funny
3
that
to
you
10, 3 to
3 to
10, 3 to
10. Okay,
12.
well, 3 to 12 happened in 2023 with the Houston Texans. They traded up, took Will Anderson. We went back to number 12. In return, we got an additional first round pick and second round pick.
Yeah.
So
So basically, so let's look at that package. Would you take that exact package and get one of those top 10-ish corners, or would you rather go with the Arvell Reeses or David Bailey? What would you do?
I would accept that trade. I would do that
Really?
over again. I know it didn't necessarily work out best for us the first time we did it. Like I said, we essentially traded Will Anderson for Paris Johnson and Darius Robinson.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of shuffling. We took the second round pick that we got to move up for Paris Johnson, but essentially those were the two main players in this trade. Yeah, looking back at it, you probably look at the Texans getting the better end of the deal. Will Anderson, he was a traditional pass rusher. He's one of the best guys in the league now. I am very content with Paris Johnson. I do think he's probably a top 12-ish tackle. Is that worth maybe a top 5 edge rusher? Not likely. And Darius Robinson, it's been pretty disappointing with him.
Mhm.
He's been in the league now for 2 years. He's missed a lot of time due to injury and just really hasn't had a chance to get it going with us. So it's kind of hard to see how much value that he's added to us. However, I'm playing the odds here. And at the end of the day, these are all lottery tickets.
Yep.
And we're not going from 3 to 100. We're going from, in your scenario, 3 to 10.
And you're gonna
Plus,
probably get one of those corners. Like there's
and
three of them.
there's a couple corners. I know you're saying corner. There's an outside shot that there could be other guys as well,
You could still get David
but
Bailey.
it could be a David Bailey. The short arms of Ruben Bain could scare people off. Maybe he falls to 10. It could be anything. To stick to the defensive theme, yeah, I'll take one of those corners if we go back to 10 because we're likely. I think that's the range. We probably get our choice of corner as well too. We're not getting leftovers. I think that's about where the first corner is going to go anyway. So
Mhm.
yeah, give me the 2 additional picks. Let's just say it's a first and a second. Give me those picks in the future, or even maybe if one of them's for this year. I want the picks.
I would like that for the Cardinals too, and I think I know the defensive line definitely needs some work. I mean,
You
they're
can't have too many.
but at the same time, you're in a division with JSN, with Puka Nakua, with Devontae Adams, with now Mike Evans. You know what I mean? Like this is a division stacked with strong, fast, great wide receivers. You need a corner to go up against those guys. And like you can do so much more just trusting that corner to lock down that guy. And then you can figure out ways to scheme up pass rush. Like you can figure that out. But eventually you need a guy to go lock down one of those number one receivers. And there's a ton of them in the NFC West. And right now I just don't know if you guys have that true alpha one number one corner right now. Like Will Johnson was good, but like you said, he's kind of not super reliable due to his health concerns.
Yeah,
Um,
he missed some time. He had some good tape, but one, you need more than just one corner.
yeah,
So he's not
yeah.
enough to just completely cover that up.
I would feel more
Two,
comfortable.
there are some concerns long term as well. So yeah, to say that we don't Garrett Williams, he actually I think he tore his Achilles or his ACL. Like he had a long term knee injury towards the end of last year. So, his status for going into next year's not, I understand it's just a slot corner and it's just for 1 year, but it does add more questions. There's a cloud that kind of hovers that cornerback room.
Yeah, I mean, look, coming from what I have over here at Eagles land, I mean, like having two good corners is definitely a very good luxury to have on your defense. And look, the Eagles pass rush hasn't been anything special, but the defense works because we have a good secondary. I think it's
Yeah.
at least the Fangio defense starts in the secondary. And I know you guys moved away from Gannon, who was running the Fangio defense because he's
But
a
we still have Nick Rollis.
exactly. So you want to have good corners, good secondary players, and then you can figure out the upfront part after
Now
that.
you
So
were asking in this hypothetical, it sounded like you were saying not just the third overall pick, but Arvell Reese specifically, or maybe
mhm.
even a Sonny Styles. These, either home positional homeless guys or are they just super versatile guys? Given our history with Hassan Reddick, who was an edge rusher out of Temple, we moved him to off ball linebacker. We moved. Remember Dayon Buchanan? He was
Oh,
a primarily
man, legend.
he was a safety, and we actually created a position for him. He was an off ball linebacker, but they called him the money backer. But he was an undersized off ball linebacker. Isaiah Simmons. I mean, if you ever looked at his spread and his snap count position wise, it was pretty cool actually. I mean, the snaps at safety to slot corner to off ball linebacker to edge. I mean, it was so evenly distributed. I got so excited about that. I thought he was an awesome puzzle piece to have. You look at Zaven Collins, who he was supposed to be just your traditional off ball linebacker. It was so bad we ended up moving him to edge because we were like, we got to put him somewhere. And like he's a huge dude. Just throw him on the line. Maybe he'll like help in the run game, I guess. And so yeah, we've had a lot of experience, a lot of bad experience with moving guys around because they weren't
And you
versatile.
just don't want to do that again. I
They
don't
were
blame
just
you.
homeless. And so at some point, how many scars do you have to take when you hear, oh, this Arvell Reese, man, he is a combine freak. He can do this, he can do that. But you look at, does he have the bit? Like there's projection with him. He has the skill set to be an edge rusher. He did it
A
maybe
lot of projection.
he did it a quarter of the time at Ohio State. And it's like, whoa, like a quarter. Like, what about the other 3/4? Like, I understand the hesitation to want to go after a guy like that. Where
No,
it's
I
like,
understand.
but if your option is do it again, the thing that's hurt you before, or move back and collect additional draft picks and more lottery tickets. I see. I want to move back because I think we have a lot of needs. Let me rephrase that. We have a lot of opportunities to improve, and
It's like an HR department. My God.
right.
Opportunities to improve. Oh my
I mean,
gosh. You sound like me in one of my teacher conferences with a parent.
well, I think some people say like we're a terrible team. We have no roster. I think we have some talent. I don't think the roster is as bad as people think it is. We don't have a quarterback answer right now.
Yes.
And that's a big one. But
The
we can't
teacher-
address it. We can't
the
address
teacher-
that here.
The teacher phrase is areas for growth.
Right. Okay. There we go. But like we're not completely talentless. I guess that's my point.
No, not at all.
Well, I did just bring up the quarterback thing. We could have an answer at quarterback. Would it be easier to maybe attack that position if we move back a little bit, so we have additional capital to maneuver the board, somewhere else in the first round? But I do want to stick to the defensive theme here, but
Well, I just love that, like, we were able to kind of suit the Cardinals conversation in with the offense, with Jeremiah Love, and now with the defense, with these guys. That's what, listen, hey, look, that's why I love the draft. And you know what? I was rooting so hard for you guys to get the third pick because it just makes the draft conversation that much better. Because at the end of the day, like, you're going to get one of the, like, non-Trevor Mendoza, Fernando Mendoza's. So you're going to get
I gotta figure out who this Trevor Mendoza guy is.
Yeah, you're gonna get a top 2 non-Mendoza player, so that's gonna be cool to really see. That's exciting, and I hope it goes good for that. I don't know if there was any other really topics. I mean, I feel like we covered the Ruben Baines short arms, we covered the Jermon McCoy ACL thing. I don't know.
Let me ask you this. So you know how these scouts, they got these big binders and they got all the records of all the times, and what they do is they essentially say, here are the best players in the NFL. These are the height, weight, speeds of each of them. And they find the correlations of, okay, not everyone's good, but all the good ones have this in common. That's essentially what they do. So we're talking about Ruben Baines and his short arms.
Okay.
His tape was awesome. He was the best player on the field pretty much every game he played for the last couple of years. But the short arms thing is a concern for some people. My question is, we've done the short arm thing for some time now. At what point, yes, he would be an outlier, but at what point did we stop giving guys like him a chance to where it never gave them a chance to maybe expand the range that we're willing to accept? There was a point where the scouting industry, industrial complex decided 33 inches. That is what our threshold is, or whatever the number is. And we just stopped drafting guys high who don't have that number. And so those guys would maybe not go undrafted, but they would go third or the fourth round. And if
Mhm.
you don't have immediate success at that spot, you're not going to get a second chance. But you see guys who are drafted in the first round, they get repetitive opportunities, whether they deserve them or not. And so, I guess my question to you is, how much do we want to be? How scared off are we that someone like Ruben Bain has, outlier arm length? When I think it's a fair question to ask, have we given guys like him enough chances to beat that outlier? Does that question make sense?
I guess so. I think what you're saying is, do the arms really like scare you off to the point to where he's not worth drafting? But there's not many guys that they even take in the first place because teams just like write them off now.
Like
Uh,
I think there was a thing that said there's never been an edge rusher taken in the first 100 picks or something with his arm length. So there's nothing to compare him to.
but are there successful players that have had his arm length? There's a difference between what they're
Uh,
drafting and if they're successful.
I mean, I think they're. See, that's the other. But like, have we given those guys the chance because we wrote them off so early? I guess that's
Hmm.
my point. We don't give guys with short arms enough opportunity to prove that they can overcome it, and I guess that's my point. But I also don't think guys are as productive as he is with like he's probably one of the more productive guys with that arm length, though. To be fair,
Like,
it's it's it's, it's a balance here.
do we think that, like, say Ruben Bain in college is like a 9 out of 10, and he's
Mhm.
still successful in the NFL, but let's say he's like a 7.5 out of 10. Are we drafting him based on what he's done in college and his just explosiveness and just his football ability, but knowing full well that players with these traits have not had success? He could be the best. He could be so good at just being a really good football player, but if his arms are a certain length, then he just makes him not as effective. So maybe he's not worth the top 5 pick anymore. Maybe he's
I'm
like
not
a
going to
top
pretend
15
like
pick.
I'm a scout and I've watched every snap and every rep of his. But I think the question comes down to when he does lose on a rep, is it because you can clearly identify his arm length as an issue? Does he get swallowed up by bigger offensive linemen because they have the reach on him? I mean, based on what I've heard, I don't think you can clearly say, yeah, you can see the arm length shown on this rep. There's another guy
I'm
named Cassius Howell from Texas A&M
Yeah.
who's in the same boat, but I think the analysis on him is no. When he does lose, you can see his lack of length, in that lost rep. Whereas Ruben Bain, he is just so strong. I mean, it's as if like I used Blastoise as an example. I mean, he's just going right through you. Like he's an 11 out of 10 when it comes to the strength department.
Well, it's interesting because it looks like here on the weaknesses for CBS Sports draft profile, it says adequate length, but he lacks a wingspan
Well,
ideal
I think he
skill.
is like 6'3" though.
Yeah, so like it doesn't seem like they're too concerned of this. Like I see them. I mean, look, he's the number 2 prospect on their list. So I mean, if they were truly concerned about arm length, they would have dropped him down. So I think this guy
I
is.
mean, he performed. I mean, they had an awesome college football playoff run. He went against great play. Like he didn't play, Panera Bread State University Tech. Like he
That's funny.
he went up against Indiana and Ohio State, A&M, Ole Miss. Like these were great programs,
Hmm.
and he was the best player, or at least one of the best players. And I don't know. I think there's some belief that he could slip a bit in the draft. Again, it only takes one, and it could even be the Jets at number two. Um, but I think there is a strong belief that he could slip a little bit, even though he's one of the best players. He could still slip because of that, and that's a little frustrating.
Well,
I don't
here's the thing,
like.
Tanner. Let's change
Yeah.
it up then for our previous conversation. If Ruben Bain was there at 3, would you still take that package, or would you just take Bain?
I think I gotta go with the lottery tickets. I mean,
Wow.
that's my preference. Whether this is an offensive or defensive topic this week, I mean, you give me the chance to move down to that 8 to 12 range, I'll say. You're likely getting a first round pick back, right? Would
In a
you agree with
stronger
that?
class, like for next year, assuming.
And we're assuming that the first round pick is next year. You
And if
trade
you
with
want
the
to go
Chiefs.
March for
You
Arch,
trade with the Chiefs. I mean, I don't really want that 30th overall pick or I think it's 29th.
mm-hmm.
They do have an additional second round pick this year. So, again, I would really push to make sure it's in the 27 draft. I probably would still do the deal. I like these edge rushers. I think they each got unique qualities to them. And given that, we're picking at third, only the Jets get the true first choice, but it is a luxury to be able to choose who we want relatively. I would move down. I don't think these guys are as highly thought of as maybe like the Chase Youngs or maybe the
Yeah, see,
Bosa's.
this is what I'm worried about. I'm
Um,
going to be real. I think there is one or two of these guys are going to be a Tyree Wilson or Deion Jordan. That's what I
yeah,
just don't
I
I
get that same vibe. I
I
don't
just
know who.
I just worry that like it's these guys who are, oh, they're top 5, they're top 10, and then like we just never hear from them again ever. And it's it's like that's it. And that would scare the crap out of me if I was like taking one of them, and like because like you said, there's not like a Miles Garrett, there's not a Chase Young,
Even like an
there's not a
Abdul
Joey
Carter.
Bosa.
If Abdul Carter was in this draft, I think he would be the first. I think he would be going to the Jets.
That's what I'm saying, right? Yeah, there's not
So
even yeah.
I really do like these guys. I know we just said one of them
There's
could
no
be a
Nick
Tyree
Bosa.
Wilson, but like I think these are some good. I think they're good players.
I would even
When,
put
when
Aiden
you're giving
Hutchinson.
me the chance to pick 2 or 3 players instead of just one of these guys, I mean, I would definitely look to move back.
Would you feel like Aiden Hutchinson would be about where these guys are? Maybe would you put him even higher?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would probably put Aiden Hutch. I'm trying to be not do
Where you were in the
2020
moment?
because he's a
Yeah.
great. Aiden Hutchins is a great player now, and he's obviously you would take
But he
him.
did have concerns. A lot of people were worried about his athleticism.
Um, so he was in the same draft class as what was his name? Trayvon
Walker.
Walker. Yes, he went first overall. And I remember the problem with Aiden Hutchinson is that it's not like he scored poorly on athletic testing. He actually did relatively well. He actually did really well. But Trayvon Walker was one of one. I mean, he was 100th percentile in like a bunch of stuff and maybe had the greatest combine performance ever. And so anything less than Trayvon Walker was lesser, right?
Yeah.
And so I think Aiden Hutchinson had a little bit of short arm concerns, but if we can confirm that, that would actually be a pro. Like that would be, someone you would
Pro
want to
Bane.
look at from Ruben Bain's perspective. It hasn't held him back. I think Aiden Hutchinson just became the second highest paid defensive player in the league, only behind Michael Parsons. So,
Wow. I mean,
but
yeah,
that's relative to other draft classes where we see these top 3 guys.
that's what yeah. So I feel pretty sure that one or two of these guys are going to be just, we never hear from them again, guys. And I think it's because of the positional homelessness of these guys.
Yeah.
Like hearing that Arvel Reese only played a quarter of the
It was like
what?
90 something pass rush snaps last year at Ohio State.
Like that's something cute that you hear Jahad Campbell did at Alabama, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Maybe he can rush the passer.
I
Like
personally
Watt
never
has a
saw
top
him
5
as
pick.
like, oh, he's going to be in it. Was it ESP? Who was the
Yeah.
person last year? Who was
Oh,
like,
it was
this is a
ESP.
great pick because he's actually not an off-ball linebacker. He's an edge guy, and I'm thinking,
Oh, he's been
I'm okay
ridiculed
with
for
him
that
being an
all
off-ball
year.
linebacker,
Yeah,
especially
Minnesota
where
does
we
not
put.
let them get away with that. Like, oh yeah, the edge rusher Jahad Campbell, he's panning out. No,
No.
no, that's funny. So I guess we ready to move on to the extra point. I feel like we got our draft stuff in. You feel like we
Yeah,
talked all?
well, you want to kind of brainstorm what the schedule is going to look like going
Oh
forward.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
think
yeah,
we got
yeah.
what
2 weeks, and then the
got
third week is
2 weeks.
the draft.
Yep. So the draft's on the 23rd. So that means we're probably going to have, is it 3 more episodes? It depends because, you know,
So the way
breaking
I see
news.
it, we
I
have
am flying out on the 22nd.
so the way I
So
see it is I have my schedule pulled up. I have the 8th, the 15th are 2 weeks, right? And then we have the 23rd is the draft. So I was thinking our next 2 weeks we could do some sort of like Cardinals centered one and Eagles centered one where we talk about like either do a mock draft or maybe do like I don't know some sort of players that we want to target. Now that we've kind of done a bunch of research on the offensive and defensive side, I'm learning a little bit more than I thought I would have. Like I'm actually feeling pretty confident of like who these players are, and now I feel comfortable about making a choice about who I want. So maybe we do like a draft centered episode for the Cardinals, draft centered episode for the Eagles each week or one week in the other week. And then that NFL draft season, when it is that, you'll be in town, which is going to be exciting. I thought that week we would do the 3 pods where we do one on Friday, one on Saturday, and one on Sunday.
I got nothing else better to
Yeah, I
do.
know. So that would be, guys, it would be Friday night would cover the first round because it'd be Thursday night, right? And then the Saturday pod would cover the second and third round. And then Sunday we could do like a draft recap episode or something. And these won't be too long. Again, we're covering one round each night. So like I wouldn't expect those 3 pods to be anywhere near an hour and a half long. But they'll probably just be instant recap, instant reaction. Hey, Cardinals took Jeremiah Love. Ooh, Eagles took Avion Terrell or something like that. So yeah, and then we'll just kind of pop back in for the next episode on Saturday when we talk about the second and third round picks. So, but we wanted to give you guys that instant reaction, and honestly, like I wanted to vote a good amount of time to each of these prospects when they happen the day after, so that way like we're not just like discussing the whole draft class like on one episode because that's a lot to cover. There's a lot to cover, so we want to make sure everyone gets a nice little amount to talk about. And plus, Tanner will be in town. It's gonna be fun. We'll be in the same room. We can hold hands. It's gonna be great. I'm so excited. We'll have like food or something. We'll eat
A
chicken
food
wings or
review. We'll order
yeah,
some.
yeah, dude, that'd be so fun. Do like a food review. We'll have like chicken wings and we'll just like like, oh, what do you think of these? These are good. Actually, I think that's a really cool idea. Hey, Brett Coleman has his alcohol. We have chicken wings.
Here we
we'll,
go.
just, we'll just do wing reviews. Each day we'll do a different place. That sounds fun.
Exactly.
All right, so let's do the extra point. The extra point. There we go. All right. I am excited to talk about this because I was sitting there like 3 o'clock. I was like, oh my God, what's the extra point going to be? And I was going to talk about the spaceship launching, and that's fine. But, there's other more important things that I want to talk about. This April Fool stuff has to stop. Like, this is getting annoying. Like going on
Did you get
Twitter.
got today?
No, I didn't get got because I know it's all crap. like it's not fun anymore. Like I know every single thing that I see is gonna be a joke. And most of the time they're not even funny jokes. Like it's like 95% of the time they're not funny jokes. Like I saw like Sony had a tweet and it was like with the new PlayStation Mumbo or some stupid crap it came up with. Now this app will play your game for you. And I'm like, ooh, oh, funny joke. Ooh. Like I don't understand. Like, what's the point? Like, is this like who is watching that and who is it for? Who is it for? Who are those ads for? Is it to like for you to share with your friends and be like, you're stupid, that's not real? Like I don't I don't get it, Um you know, uh,
They
like
still get me. There was
I
a
saw
couple today that got me.
I saw one that almost got me, which I thought again was stupid. There was one about Abbott Elementary. I love Abbott Elementary, the TV show. And they said, like, oh, the principal from Abbott Elementary won't be returning this season. And then it said, like, the site, it was this, like cited as this. And it cited, like, some, like, fake bogus website. It wasn't real. And I was like, oh. But under the comments, everyone was saying, like, oh, well, no, they don't know what to do with their character. I'm not surprised. Like, they were actually taking it seriously. And I'm like, guys, the link takes you to literally a world, it was a website that showed what the time is across the world. It was just like a general time clock website. And I was like, you could have clicked the link and found out they're just screwing with you. You know what I mean? Like,
Actually, I have something to say about that. There was I was scrolling through Twitter, and there was something that said like, "Oh, this person reveals, this incident in their life," and it was kind of, like a cultural thing. I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting." I click on the video that they posted. It was like a minute and a half, nothing to do with what the actual text was.
yeah,
But if you
it's
just scroll
ridiculous.
past it, you think, "Oh, this person, did this or this happened." And if you link like you would think the video that you post with it is probably like related to the thing you talked about, had nothing to do with it whatsoever.
Now,
And so
yeah,
when you say like, "Oh yeah, people, if you just clicked on the link, you would know it was fake," and all the comments, they were like, "Why do I need to watch the video? I just read it."
April Fools is funny when it wasn't basically turned into like some corporate monopoly. Let's let all the brands do it. Once all the brands get involved, it stops being funny. Once a brand starts doing like a meme and like posts about it online, it loses all of its fun. Like,
I like when like people bring in a box of donuts to work, but then inside when you open it up, it's like carrots and celery. That's funny to me.
yes, see, that's great. April Fools, like the actual human element of it is great. I've done April Fools before with my students. I told my students 2 years ago. No, it was 6 years ago. I did it. Like April Fools almost never falls on the week on the school year on the weekday for some reason. We're either on spring break or it's on a weekend, which I hate. But on the rare times that it falls during a school day, I've gotten my class. I love doing it. So one year I made them do a word search where none of the words in the word search category bank were on the word search. So they kept looking for like 20 minutes and they couldn't find any words. And I kept saying, guys, the words are there, figure it out. And I made it like I said, it was like a quiz grade or whatever. So like I was messing with them. I said, "Oh, this is for a grade. You gotta find these words."
Oh,
So
that's cool.
so in another year, I gave them. I got really serious and I said, "Guys, like there's a test in third grade that is incredibly important, and it does lead to whether or not you pass third grade. And this test does go to your fourth grade teacher. So I want you to know that this is a day that we're gonna do a test. And in third grade we do tons of tests. So like they'll be like, okay, all right, whatever, let's do it, fine. So they're believing me because I do tests all the time with them. And I hand them this like 300 question multiple no 300 question multiplication like quiz where it's like just simple multiplication, like a time drill test or whatever. And I said, guys, you have to get all of these done in 1 minute or you're not going to pass the
300.
yeah, yeah.
That's
And
not
they
physically possible.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the whole point. And but I say it, and I'm like, all right, flip it over, and they see like hundreds of multiple choice, hundreds of multiplication and division questions, and they're like, oh my god! Like I had one girl cry like halfway through it because they thought that like they weren't gonna pass third grade because like they were like they start freaking out because they're like trying to do as many as they can, and the clock's ticking on the screen, and I'm like, all right, pencils down. All right, how many you get done? Did you finish? You're not going to fourth grade. So
Wow, you're terrible.
no, we did it as a grade level. My other team like came up with the idea, and they were
Okay,
like, "This
well
is my."
you're all
Oh, no, no, no,
terrible.
no, no, no! It was my first year as a teacher, and they said, "Clark, look, this is like a tradition that we do. Like they were a fun team. They're like, this is like a tradition we do. You need to do it. We're all doing it with our class. This is what we do in our grade level. So like here it is. This is what you do, and we have to do it." And I'm like, "All right, sounds good." So I just listened to my team, and everyone else did it in third grade. I just had kids that cried about it. But I
I
love
got some
April
like
Fool's Day.
some like less consequential stuff today. I was scrolling. And again, I'm not in like the headspace of like, hey, everything like today's April Fool's. It's April Fool's. Like, I don't know, just treating like another day. And on the ASU Athletics Twitter account, they said, we are installing a swimming pool in the football stadium. Now, that's not, it's unique, but like the Arizona Diamondbacks have a pool in their stadium. The Jacksonville Jaguars have a pool in their
I see
stadium.
what you're saying. It's like,
So
why even
like,
lie about it? It's not like that
I'm
absurd to
like,
even.
and I was like, wow, that's kind of that's cool, and that would be unique to college football. And I mean, season starts in late August. Like it's hot. Like a lot of the season is in warm
Yeah,
temperatures.
yeah.
It would make sense. And it's like, oh, April. It's like, you feel good about yourself? Like you
Oh,
you
you
just
got me.
admitted, like, now I think you're not willing to do something I think is cool. So now I think less of you. The other one, I think it was last year, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna paint the field maroon." So like kind of like how Boise State does
Yeah,
blue.
yeah, yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, we're gonna have a maroon colored field." And I'm like, "Well, that's kind of cool." Like it's different.
It's like
And
April
again, it's
Fools.
like, yeah, another thing. I'm like, like stop. Like,
I'll make it quick, but I remember, one of our most favorite sports television productions, Pardon the Interruption, PTI. They do like a really good April Fool's joke, and I saw like one of the first ones where like they talked about, like, it was like in 2007 or 2008, where like they wanted to read, like, they're like, oh, we're breaking the news here, guys, like they're gonna replay the last 15 seconds of the Davidson basketball game in the Final Four because of something that happened. And I just thought that was so interesting because back then you could do something like that. You could bring out like a television show on ESPN and say, guys, they're going to do the last 15 seconds of this basketball game because some player was ineligible. This is crazy. And then they talked about it for, about a minute and a half. PTI does that. And then they said, oh, April Fools. And I just thought to myself, you can't really do that now on PTI because like everyone's checking their like Twitter stream and like no one's actually like
right,
falling for that. But back then, I bet like someone was watching that going, "What?" You know what I mean? Like, because there's no way to verify. What are you gonna do? Go on your dial-up internet and find out? Like there was no way you were gonna fact check that. You're just listening to Tony Kornheiser. So I thought that was funny. I thought that was a funny bit that's kind of lost its luster because instant news 24/7. So what's your extra point, Tanner?
all right. If animals could talk,
Oh, good.
which one would be the biggest jerk? And while you think of some, I have a couple in mind.
All right.
All right, the first one I thought would be a kangaroo because they're constantly flexing. Second, I came up with is a rooster because they're most known for waking people up.
Mm-hmm.
Foxes are known to be sneaky. Cats, just obviously. And then monkeys, they're known for like throwing poop at you.
The biggest
Any of
jerk
those stick out? Like if you had, unless you got your own, who would get the biggest jerk award amongst those?
amongst those, probably cats. Cats are
Just
just
because
so
they're just obviously jerks.
well.
They
They're
knock
yeah. They're
things over.
oh, absolutely. They're unbothered. They think they are like the ones that are being like cared for and tended to, and they do believe themselves to be the royalty of the house. So I
The
think cats.
difference between a cat and a dog is when you like treat a dog well, the dog thinks, "Oh, you must be a god because you're treating me well." And then a cat's like, "Oh, I must be the god because you're
Yes,
treating me well."
exactly, exactly. So yes, I could see a cat's ego getting like ridiculous. You know what first popped into my head? It was like a praying mantis,
Okay.
just because like
Is that the
they
real like skinny green bug?
yeah, because like they're ruthless. They're actually like one of the best like hunters in the world, and they have like extremely
How? Like
ruthless
they're
like
so small and like I feel like I could just snap it. I don't. How can it be that great of a hunter? Does it blend
well
in or something? Like how
well
does it?
amongst like with like insects and stuff, like to other
Okay.
insects.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
if you were to create a praying mantis like the size of a human, it'd probably be the most terrifying thing on earth. Like they
Oh
have
yeah.
like
We. Yeah.
yeah, it's disgusting. So I would be terrified. Now the biggest jerk though, I don't know if they'd be like jerks. I think they'd just be terrifying. I think there's a difference
Yeah. I
there.
mean, they would just take over.
They don't have to be jerks.
Well,
But
like a kangaroo, like they're big, they're dangerous, but generally speaking, they're not gonna hurt you, right?
no,
Unless
yeah, they're
you
not
have,
gonna hurt you.
but they're always gonna come up like flexing on you. I'm like, all right, dude, like chill.
You know what? How about like a how about like a wasp?
Now, are they just like brainless though?
Wasps? No, I think they're. I think those.
I'm about like when they come by, bzzz, and then you're just like always swatting them away. Like you saying that's like a jerk move,
I think they would be, yeah, and I
or
think
you
they'd be
mean
real
like
close.
a wasp that'll like sting you or something?
I think they would fly up to you and be like, "Get out of the way" or something like that. Because most like those stinging like those bees, like they're like honeybees. They're doing like pollination and stuff like that. They're Wasps aren't doing any of that. They're just out as little psycho killers. They're not actually like trying to do anything good for the environment. So like so I don't think like that's why I think of like they're just negative. Just like they don't build extensive like like honeycombs or anything like that. They're just out to be their own little destructive selves trying to hurt people. So I think that's kind of like a jerkish thing.
I brought up a rooster. I don't know how much of a morning person you are, but there's a I've it takes me a little bit to wake up in the morning, and so I'm not rude. I'm like, give me like an hour or so to really like wake up. But you ever been around that person who wakes up ready to go from like second one, and you're just like, you need to calm down, or I'm about to get violent. Like that's a rooster's like purpose.
Is to get loud and get annoying.
Yeah, and they wake everyone like. Isn't that why they cockadoodle doo or something? Is so they can wake everyone up, or they just wake people up. Not they're not even doing it on purpose.
Yeah, no, I don't know. They're not. I'm pretty sure they don't do it to wake people up. They do it as a part of their like calls in the morning. They just happen to call in
And
the
they
morning.
and they wake
Sunrise,
people up because
and they
of it.
wake people up. They think people
It's still a
associate.
jerk move. Like you could
No, it is
even
a
like
jerk move.
let's say
Yeah,
they meant to do it. Like okay, you're just trying to be someone's alarm clock. Sure.
it's like when a dog howls at the moon or when a wolf howls at the moon. Like they're not howling for any reason other than there's the moon. Hoo. So like just like when the rooster sees the sun, they go rock-a-doodle-doo. Same idea, but in the morning people wake up. So they associate that with man, they're waking me up in the morning. So that's where I think that comes from. That's funny though. That's real funny.
Um,
Oh gosh. Well, how about that, Tanner? We hit our 1 hour, our weekly 1 hour, 30-minute mark again. So we're nothing but consistent. So that's been fun. Shout out to us because a couple weeks ago we set our podcast record with I think what was it, the most views on YouTube so far. So the one
yes.
that it eclipsed our Super Bowl one. Don't know what we did 2 pods ago that did so much, so well on the algorithm, but hopefully we can keep that good momentum going. And thanks for everyone for watching all the TikToks and stuff. And we've been posting those more regularly. We kind of took a little break, but we're back on it. So I feel like we're getting a little
Please
better at
don't
TikTok.
hesitate to comment either. That's actually really
Yes.
great
Oh
for
my
us.
gosh. Like,
We do our best to respond to everything too.
yes, like, comment. I hate to say it, smash that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. But all of it helps. All of it helps on TikTok. And at the end of the day, if you like push us on TikTok, like that gets us in front of more people's eyes. So like that brings more audience to us. So, as much as we would love to be a part of like a radio show or something where people are like a captive audience, like we need people to like see us, right? So push us out on TikTok, and tell us about tell us about tell your relatives about us. Yeah, we're weird, so it'll be fun. So that's really all we got, guys. We're excited to really roll down this draft season. I don't know about you, but Tanner, I've learned a lot about these draft prospects these past few weeks, just talking about them. Like I feel like I know kind of who these guys are. Getting me excited, not just for you coming down, but see where these players go, and of course, the
Yep.
fantasy football perspectives because we never know where they're going to go. But other than that, guys, that's John. I'm Tanner. Thanks so much for listening to Birds Coast to Coast. Later.